What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to bring you guys another mock draft, but this time, I really want to focus on the strategy of early quarterback and tight end. Now, these are two positions that I never attack early in my drafts. I've just always been under the philosophy of you might as well wait because for these positions to really hit, they are always drafted at the top of their value. It's hard to find really significant tight end and quarterback values because they always go so early because people want to take these specialty positions to get the advantage. Not me. But today, I said screw it and let's do both. Let's see how my team can turn out if we go with a quarterback and tight end early. Now, what I'm thinking is not round one because nobody's going in the first round. So I'll do a random draft spot. And then rounds 2 and 3 will be the positions where I take a tight end or a quarterback. And quickly, let's go through the draft settings here. So we have a half PPR league. I'll do 12 teams, no limit. Roster settings will be one quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, one tight end, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. And then we'll do draft order. We will randomize teams here. And I'm team 6, so that's cool. And then, I think we are good to go. We will get this draft started. And for those of you who don't know, this is a Sleeper ADPs and Sleeper mock draft. It's a really great website. If you check it out, if you want to do mock drafts, I think it's the best platform out there to do them. So check it out. But as we start the draft, we have Christian McCaffrey 1, CeeDee Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then we're up. So this is where it gets really hard for me because I would love to take Justin Jefferson. And I've been a big proponent this year of taking wide receivers early because I think, hey, Willow, I think there are running backs that you can get later in the draft that would be pretty great to be starters for your team. But as of right now, I want to start it off how I would do my draft. And I would do Bijan Robinson here. If I had the chance to take Bijan, I would pull that flag. I would pull that trigger ASAP. So we're going to go Bijan Robinson here and start our team off with just a awesome RB1 stud. All right, so after Bijan Robinson went Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Puka Nacua, Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Drake London, Devontae Adams, and then Josh Allen. Now, I would have loved to start my draft off with Josh Allen there as the QB1. So now we have to choose. Is this the time that we strike and get Jalen Hurts, or do we strike and go my tight end 1, which would be Sam Laporta? I know a lot of people have Trey McBride up there or Travis Kelce. I'm okay with either one of these guys, truthfully. So, I kind of want to make sure that I get Jalen Hurts here, who I pretty much feel like is, I don't want to say bulletproof, but his rushing upside to me is just pretty locked in. And I'm not too concerned with the passing. I mean, even if we just look last year at his stats here, he still threw 23 touchdowns, which isn't crazy. The year before he didn't do that crazy either. I mean, he threw 22, but it's the touchdowns. I mean, in 3 seasons, he has 10, 13, and 15. I don't really see that going away. And they have a new offensive coordinator there in Kellen Moore. I just think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. So I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts here and then see what tight end comes to us in the 3rd round, and we'll pick one there. And next off the board is Travis Etienne, Chris Olave, Kyron Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Nico Collins, Isaiah Pacheco, and Derrick Henry. And then we're right back on the clock. So in that stretch, no tight end went. So here, I'm going to take the chance, and I'm going to go with Sam Laporta. Like I said, I know a lot of people have Trey McBride, and people think he's really, really good. I just want to see Sam Laporta in an offense that I trust a little bit more with, I don't want to say less competition because they do have Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown who are awesome. But Trey McBride plays with Kyler Murray, who I just don't really trust, with Marvin Harrison, and I just think it's going to be less functional of an offense. I'd rather go with Sam Laporta, who really busted out last year or broke out and, was the tight end 1. So I think he can easily repeat that. So I'm just going to go with Sam Laporta here and, get the QB1 in the past and get the tight end 1 from last year. I think that's a great start to our draft. All right, then after Sam Laporta went Deebo Samuel, Travis Kelce, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Patrick Mahomes, DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman, Lamar Jackson, James Cook, Cooper Kupp, Malik Neighbors, and then we're back on the clock. So our team could look pretty different here if we decided to wait on tight end or at least quarterback. You know, if we drafted a quarterback in the third round and then maybe got a tight end in the fourth or vice versa. You know, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, we could have got those guys maybe a round later and grabbed another good, receiver or running back in round 2. So that's something to play around with for sure. But hey, we're here now, so let's see what we can do. So when we look at overall position players, we have Rachaad White, Devonta Smith, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, Zay Flowers, Alvin Kamara. So there are some players here. Since we are playing in a 3 wide receiver league, I kind of want to make sure I just get a receiver that I do like. And I think the stack here makes a lot of sense with Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts. I think I'm going to go with that. Smith has been a really good receiver, just, honestly in his career so far. Zay Flowers just doesn't really have the upside for me that I think, Devonta Smith can possess where with the target share. Tank Dell's in a really crowded receiving core. T. Higgins just drives me insane. I'm good there. And then these guys, I'm good. We can maybe get them on the way back possibly, but I'll go with Devonta Smith and get the Philadelphia stack with Jalen Hurts. And all right, next went Dalton Kincaid, Joe Mixon, Mark Andrews, Alvin Kamara, Rachaad White, CJ Stroud, Zay Flowers, Anthony Richardson, Kenneth Walker, and Tank Dell. If anybody has been around the channel and has watched my videos, they know I'm in love with Kenneth Walker. So if Ken Walker made it back to us, that would have been an easy smash pick for me, but he did not. So we have to look kind of at overall players here. So the good thing about this strategy is for the rest of the draft, I no longer have to touch quarterback or tight end unless I want to draft a backup somewhere, just a safety option. But I'm probably not gonna. So we really can just hammer out the wide receivers and running backs here. When we look at kind of overall here, I can look at everybody. T. Higgins is still available. George Pickens, Amari Cooper, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Keenan Allen. There's still some good options here. And I would say that the receivers are running thin quickly. I really don't want this group right here of Jordan Addison, Xavier Worthy, Chris Godwin. I don't want them as my 2s. So out of these kind of 5 guys here, I like Christian Watson a lot, but I think maybe he can make it back. I don't think people are as high on Christian Watson as I am. And I think this team needs a little bit more of an upside, throw here. So I'm going to go George Pickens. Pickens is really the only receiver in that offense, and what he did with Russ, or what Courtland Sutton did with Russ last year, I think George Pickens could be in for a big year. And at the worst, he might be kind of an inconsistent big splash play here and there. So I'll go with George Pickens as our wide receiver 2, and that way we have a little bit more upside in our receiving core. So after George Pickens went Trey McBride, David Montgomery, George Kittle, Amari Cooper, Kyle Pitts, T. Higgins, DeAndre Swift, James Conner, Evan Ingram, Aaron Jones, Ramondre Stevenson, and Terry McLaurin. This is really tough because I would have smashed pretty much any of these running backs that went in round 6. I would have taken with our next pick, but they aren't here. So now we're down to a pretty dangerous point with running back where it's a lot of shot in the dark. It's a lot of shots in the dark here with Najee, who I don't really trust to keep that job. Zamir White isn't really that talented of a player, but looks like he's going to get all the touches. Raheem Mostert, led the NFL in rushing touchdowns last year. It's just being forgotten about. Tony Pollard, after a good 2022 campaign, 2023 is a little disappointing. We can have the story for all these guys. I almost want to just say I don't care really about any of these running backs because they all feel generally trashy to me. That I don't really prefer any one of these guys to anyone else. But at receiver, at least I still have the chance to go after someone I like, which would be Keenan Allen or Christian Kirk. I've been getting Christian Kirk in every draft that I can basically get my hands on. And to me, he's the number 1 offense in Jacksonville, or he's the number 1 option in Jacksonville. Brian Thomas Jr. is a rookie. They don't really have anyone. Gabe Davis is there, but I don't trust Gabe Davis to tie his shoes, let alone be my fantasy or, be a big contributor for Jacksonville. So with Christian Kirk kind of just being the underneath, slot guy, I'm in on Christian Kirk easily. I don't think the upside is there, but I think he has a very safe floor. So I'll go with Christian Kirk here and really just knock out my 3 wide receiver, starting lineup. And then we can focus on running back coming back. All right, so after Christian Kirk went Joe Burrow, Keenan Allen, Hollywood Brown, Roma Dunze, Jalen Reed, Godwin, Raheem Mostert, Jordan Addison, Kyler Murray, Calvin Ridley, and now we are back on the board. I'm going to pass on receiver for now, and I'm going to look at some of the running back options. So here, Najee Harris is still here. We have Tony Pollard, Jonathan Brooks, Javonte Williams, Jalen Warren. These guys in this kind of group here, I'm not really willing to take yet. I think we could wait one more round and get these guys later. So I'll go with Najee Harris. I don't know if I think Najee will keep his job the entire season, but what I do know is that if he does, or at least keeps like the lion's share of it, he's the goal line back and can still catch some passes. Not super relying on it, but at this point, I'm good with it. And then we move on and we could take, we have a couple options here, players that I do like at running back. We have Javonte Williams, who I think could really be a bounce back candidate for Denver. I don't want to take Jalen Warren just because we took Najee. Austin Eckler could be a PPR option. Even in a pretty bad, mediocre season last year, he still had 51 catches in 14 games, which isn't crazy, but he could just be the receiving back in that offense. I think I'll go Javonte Williams here just because I want a player that I know should be the starter for Denver, where I think Austin Eckler could just be strictly a third down back with Brian Robinson there. So I'll go Javonte Williams just because he was really talented before the ACL and knee injury. Had a kind of a slow year back last year, but year 2 off the ACL injury, maybe he can return to the high expectations we had for him heading into 2022. And, maybe it works out for us. All right, so then the good part about what's happening right now is that a lot of teams need to catch up on taking, their tight ends and their late round quarterbacks. The teams that we just had in front of us, 4 of them took a receiver or a tight end or a quarterback. So that leaves more, receiver and running back options for us. So we have 3 running backs and we only have 3 receivers. So now I'm going to look at kind of the overall, bag of receivers here and running backs that we have and see if there's anybody that's really standing out to me. And man, there are some options. I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba could be a good option. Cortland Sutton, with assuming Bo Nix is going to be the starter. Romeo Doubs, a lot of people really like Doubs this year. A.D. Mitchell out of Texas, looks like a promising rookie. Curtis Samuel could be the Buffalo's number 1 receiver, or Khalil Shakir. There's a lot of options and shots we could take. I think I'll go with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Just really, take the shot on the talent. We know this guy was a highly touted receiver out of Ohio State. Didn't do too much as a rookie last year, only finishing with, 63 catches for 600 yards. Not nothing, not Quentin Johnston level, but let's take the shot on JSN and hope maybe he just takes over that number 2 spot and has a pretty productive year. All right. So then after Jackson Smith-Njigba went Trey Benson, Brock Purdy, Tajay Spears, Jameson Williams, Brian Robinson, Devin Singletary, Gus Edwards, Cortland Sutton, Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels, Zeke Elliott, Pat Freiermuth, and then we're back on the board. So now we're playing with bench. We're playing with bench pieces now. We have, not a ton of running backs that I really love here. So I'm not really itching to get a running back quite yet. Just because we have to start 2 of them. We have 3 decent options, but none of these guys, like I said, are really standing out to me. I mean, if it was somebody, it'd probably be Chase Brown. But when we go to receivers, we still have some guys that I kind of believe in. Romeo Doubs, A.D. Mitchell, Khalil Shakir, or Curtis Samuel we could take the shot on. But here, I think I'd go Doubs. That Packers receiving core, it's 4 or 5 guys deep, and I think you just take lottery picks on one of the guys and see who hits. You never know with injury. You never know how many are going to play in 3 receiver sets. Maybe Romeo Doubs can just take over the number 2 spot in front of Jalen Reed or Christian Watson. Honestly, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I'll just take the shot on Romeo Doubs and, see if we can get another good receiver there. And all right, so after that, we had not really anyone that significant go off the board, but here we are again with our round 11 pick. So now we kind of have we have 5 receivers when we have to start 3. We have 3 running backs. So I'd like to probably lean a little bit heavier on the running backs. Not a ton of great options here. So the number 1 guy that stands out to me right now is Chase Brown. People think that he's going to have the chance to start over Zach Moss. People think Chase Brown's way more talented than Zach Moss. While I say it all the time. Every running back, every committee is a committee. Everyone takes touches. Chase Brown won't get 100% of the work. Zach Moss is going to factor in somehow, some way. But if Chase Brown can just prove to be the better player, I think he'll get the more significant touches and play the lion's share. Maybe be the pass catching back. So I'll go with Chase Brown just for pure upside. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's a round 11 swing. Really go for the talent swing and hope in a Joe Burrow-led offense that some touchdowns can pop out for Chase Brown. Alrighty, and we're back in round 12, and a lot of receivers went off the board here. Still a couple running back options that are pretty tempting. We have I like Jalen Wright a lot. The Dolphins spent a lot of draft capital to get him this year. Rico Dowdle could be the starter for Dallas. Ty Chandler could be a good 1B, maybe second fiddle to Aaron Jones, who's been pretty injured. Tyler Algier could be a great handcuff for us just in case Bijan goes down. A lot of options here. And if we check out receivers, we have, some options. I mean, we have, if we look at our roster over here, actually, we have Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Christian Kirk, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Romeo Doubs, and then that's kind of it for receivers. So I think here could be a good option with Josh Palmer. Maybe he's the starter. I know people think Ladd McConkey's going to do it, kind of be the slot guy, and maybe so. But what about the outside? Quentin Johnston, it looks like he's fallen off the team and the depth chart pretty quickly. Josh Palmer had a pretty decent year last year outside of the games he was injured. But in I don't know, 10 games, 500 yards, 600 yards in 10 games. I mean, that's, if we pull it up, it's probably a 1,000-yard pace. So I'll just go with Josh Palmer. Maybe he can solidify himself as the 1 or 2 in a Justin Herbert offense. And I don't need a lot here. He's my round 12 pick. It's the shot that maybe he's the number 1 on what we think is going to be a run-heavy offense, but has a really elite starting quarterback in the NFL. So maybe some volume goes his way. And then with our last pick, we're just going to take the absolute shot on somebody. We have Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier, Antonio Gibson, Kamani Vidal, Jaleel McLaughlin, like some options to swing for the fences here. And then even receiver, we have Ricky Pearsall. That could be really great if Brandon Ayuk gets traded. Quentin Johnston. I don't want to do that because I just drafted Josh Palmer, but Quentin Johnston, Michael Wilson out of Arizona, Jermaine Burton, who I really like as a receiver. I think he's really great, as a rookie. But T. Higgins is there, so there's a lot of competition. But here, I mean, one guy is standing out at the running back position, and I think it's Rico Dowdle. I mean, if he starts for Dallas, I think he'll be a better player than Zeke, and I don't think that Dowdle is really a special talent, but any kind of starting running back that you can be in this league is a starting running back. So I'll just take the shot on it, especially in round 13. I kind of said earlier with Zamir White, I'm not really willing to take the risk because that was in round 5 or 6. But here at round 13, hey, maybe Dowdle works. And if it's just the Zeke show for the first 2 weeks, then I'll cut him and we'll pick up someone else. And all right, so that was our draft. So if I pull up the draft board here, we went with Bijan Robinson, Jalen Hurts, Sam Laporta, Devonta Smith, George Pickens, Christian Kirk, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Romeo Doubs, Chase Brown, Josh Palmer, and Rico Dowdle. Now, if I was drafting this team in real life, I would probably hate it. I just think we're extremely weak at receiver and running back depth-wise. I mean, we have a lot of, I think, playable options, but nothing that makes me feel very secure. Now, it's great that we have Jalen Hurts and Sam Laporta, 2 guys that could finish easily at number 1. I mean, technically, we have Jalen Hurts, Bijan Robinson, and Sam Laporta. We're 3 guys that I think could easily finish, top 3 or even number 1 at their respective positions. So that's great. That upside is awesome and there for us. But we don't have a lot of security on this team. Najee Harris is a real question mark. And at the point where we took Najee Harris, do you really feel safe with any of the guys I could have maybe taken instead? Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb's hurt. Zamir White, no. Jonathan Brooks, hurt. Zach Moss, no. Javonte Williams, we took him. There's a lot of guys that I just didn't feel safe taking. So I think there's big question marks all around. And even with our receiving core, I think Devonta Smith and Christian Kirk are pretty solid and solidified pieces. Maybe not the most upside. And George Pickens is maybe our swing for the fence option, but that could be a really disastrous pick if it doesn't work out for us. And then we just go to the bench. You know, it's a lot of unknown guys, not a lot of depth that I really trust, but a lot of, I think, really respectable shots that we could take. And hopefully, you know, one of these guys works out for us because I think the potential is there, but there's no sense of security on this team. Overall, I guess I shouldn't say I hate the team, but I just would never go with both. My recommendation for you is if you're going to take a quarterback or a tight end, I think in the moment you pick one and that's it. You either go out and get Jalen Hurts, but then in the third round you go out and you get Isaiah Pacheco or Derrick Henry or one of the good receivers. I just don't think it's worth taking both a tight end and quarterback that early. Now, maybe if we spread it out a little bit more, where say we took Jalen Hurts in the second round, and then in round 4 we took Mark Andrews or Dalton Kincaid, or even in the 5th round. You know, I would have been okay if we took Trey McBride or Kittle in the 5th. That would have been fine with me. But with us going, you know, 2 and 3 or second round and third round, that makes us miss out on 2 rounds of really great, you know, position players right there. I mean, we missed out on some really truly elite players. And that's going to hurt our team in the long run with just having depth and honestly security. And all right, that was the video. If you liked the video, leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more content. It's August 12th as I'm recording this, so fantasy drafts really are right around the corner. If you're like me, you have until Labor Day, but I'm sure most of you are doing your drafts in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned. More content's coming your way. So yeah, stay tuned. If you want to check out another mock draft, it'll pop up on the end screen here. Click on that, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.